I call to order the monthly meeting of the Fort Ord Reuse Authority, a regular meeting. I would ask of Council Member Alan Haff if he would do us the honor of leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Alan. Okay, we'll be going, next on the agenda, we'll be going into closed session. We've got a conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, Government Code 54956.9 Alpha, two cases. First, Keep Fort Ord Wild versus the Fort Ord Reuse Authority, case number M114961. Second, City of Marina versus Fort Ord Reuse Authority, case number M11856. Prior to going into closed session, does any member of the public wishing to address the board here on any of these items we'll be discussing in closed session? Seeing none, the public comment period is closed. We are adjourning an open session. We'll reconvene next door in closed session. We'll be back as soon as we possibly can. John, you ready? Okay.
What? I don't know. That's what I said already.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're reconvening an open session right now. If our attorney, Mr. John Giffen, would report out from the closed session, please.
Yes, thank you, Chair Edelin. The board met in closed session on items 3A, 1, and 2, Keep Fort Ord Wild versus Fort Ord Reuse Authority, and the City of Marina versus the Fort Ord Reuse Authority, and heard from council, heard advice from council, and there's nothing to report out.
Thank you very much. Next, if we can have a roll call, please.
City of Carmel by the Sea, Mayor Pro Tem Beach. City of Delray Oaks, Chair Edelin.
Here.
City of Marina, Mayor Pro Tem O'Connell. Here. City of Marina, Councilmember Morton. Here. City of Monterey, Vice Mayor Hoffa. Here. Monterey County Supervisor Potter. Here. Monterey County Supervisor Calcagno. Monterey County Supervisor Parker. Here. City of Pacific Grove, Councilmember Lucius. Here. City of Salinas, Mayor Gunter. Here. City of Sand City, Mayor Pendergrass. Here. City of Seaside, Mayor Rubio. Here. City of Seaside, Mayor Pro Tem Oglesby. Here. 20th Congressional District, Congressman Farr. 17th State Senate District, Nicole Charles. 29th State Assembly District, Taina Vargas Edmond. University of California, Donna Blitzer. Here. California State University, Andre Lewis. Here. Monterey Peninsula College, Walter Tribley. Monterey Peninsula Unified School District, P.K. Diffenbaugh. Monterey Salinas Transit, Hunter Harvath. Transportation Agency of Monterey County, Debbie Hale. United States Army, Colonel Fellinger. Fort Ord BRAC Office, Bill Collins. Marina Coast Water District, Director Lay.
Yeah.
Chair Edelin, you have a quorum.
Thank you very much, Liam. Next, we have acknowledgements, announcements, and correspondence. Director Peter Lee is our new director for the Marina Coast Water District. Had an announcement to make.
I think I'll do that. Hi, Howard Gustafson, President of Marina Coast Water District. And I'd like to thank you for this opportunity, of course, and of course I've served with you before, and I'd like to acknowledge Peter Lee. He'll be our representative here on FORA, and I think he'd be very good man for you. And I'd also like to introduce our new interim general manager that we've hired is Bill Coker, right here. Thank you. And in the future, I think you'll be hearing something about our efforts to reinstate our original plans for our 3,000 acre-foot desal project. So we'll be presenting that soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Welcome to Fort Ord Reuse Authority. We're looking forward to a great partnership continuing. Turn it over to Mr. Michael Hullemard.
Yes, Chair Edelin and members of the board, a couple of introductions. The first one, I believe we have there she is. She's hiding behind the screen. Katie, would you stand up, please? This is Catherine, or also known as Katie Ahern. Katie was the second person hired by the Fort Ord Reuse Authority and spent about 6 years working for FORA in the late 90s, early part of the last decade. We had a little shortage on staff recently due to some unfortunate circumstances, and we also had Our board members asked us to do both a trail symposium and a charrette and the regional urban design guidelines. And we've asked Katie to come and help us on a temporary basis. And so Katie's restarted her career at FORA for a few months. So if you hear from Katie at fora.org, this is Katie Ahern. And I did mention the trail symposium, and I mentioned also the charrette. I think just about every one of the members of this board and every one of your council members has been contacted by Victoria Beach about participating either in the trail symposium or the charrette or both. The trail symposium is going to be on January 22nd. There's announcements that are in the lobby as well. The charrette is going to begin in the first part of February and go all the way till the February board meeting, where there'll be a report by the special consultants that are working with every jurisdiction in the area on the issues of implementing Category 3 and 4 items from the reassessment process. So I just wanted to make those two announcements, Chair. And then I think there are a couple items that you had, Chair, so I'll turn this over to you.
Thank you. I have the sad duty, in a way, of we have two resolutions honoring first Council Member Nancy Selfridge and Supervisor Lou Calcagno. Neither of them could be with us today. Here today. So we have Director Alan Haff and Director Henry Gowan. So I'm going to go up there if you all would come up, and we'll read these resolutions off. We'll start off with Lou Calcagno's first. Fort Ord East Authority Resolution of Appreciation to Supervisor Louis R. Calcagno. It is hereby resolved by the Fort Ord East Authority Board of Directors that whereas Louis R., otherwise known as Lou Calcagno, was elected Supervisor of Monterey County's 3rd District in 1999 and subsequently twice elected to the seat of the Supervisor of the 2nd District, serving 3 terms as Board Chair. And whereas Supervisor Calcagno has been a member of the Fort Ord East Authority Board of Directors for the past 15 years, consistently representing agricultural and conservation interests and voicing concern about the region's water resources. And whereas he served multiple roles in the state of California and the Monterey Bay region with political distinction, extraordinary leadership, and commendable community sensitivity for supporting former Fort Ord recovery. And whereas Supervisor Calcagno was a charter member of the Monterey County Agricultural and Land Conservancy and the Elkhorn Slough Estuary and Sanctuary Foundation, as awarded the foundation's highest honor, the Heritage Award, for his long-standing efforts to protect and conserve the slough and its environs. Whereas the Santa Cruz Farm Bureau recently named him as a recipient of the 2009 Al Smith Friend of Agriculture Award. And whereas the Fort Ord East Authority has benefited immensely from Supervisor Calcagno's reserved, quiet, unassuming, and demure style. Okay. And whereas Supervisor Calcagno has consistently participated in suggesting regional solutions to the educational, political, socioeconomic, and environmental issues facing the Monterey Bay community. Now therefore be it resolved, for all reasons described above, but not limited thereto, the Fort Ord East Authority Board of Directors hereby expresses its sincere commendation to Supervisor Louis R. Calcagno. Be it further resolved on behalf of the entire Fort Ord East Authority family, the Board of Directors extends its gracious appreciation and deepest gratitude to Lou Calcagno for his leadership and exemplary service to the Monterey Bay region. Passed and adopted by the Fort Ord East Authority Board of Directors this 9th day, January 2015. I signed it as chair. Again, please pass our congratulations, our hearty thanks for all of Lou's work. We're going to miss him. He's been a phenomenal player.
Thank you very much.
Okay, there you go.
Chair Edlin and members of the board, on behalf of Supervisor Calcagno, thank you very much.
Next, we have Director Alan Hoffa accepting the Fort Ord East Authority Resolution of Appreciation for Councilmember Nancy Selfridge. It is hereby resolved by the Fort Ord East Authority Board of Directors that, whereas Ms. Nancy Selfridge was elected councilwoman to the City of Monterey in November 2006, was appointed to the FORA Board of Directors in December of 2010, and whereas Nancy Selfridge served the FORA Board with commendable dedication to transparency, noble persistence, and outstanding sensitivity for community issues, and whereas Councilwoman Selfridge provided focus to and advocated for the dedication of the Fort Ord National Monument, directing attention to Monterey's ongoing role in the former Fort Ord reuse plan implementation, and whereas Councilwoman Selfridge actively engaged and supported Monterey Bay regional efforts to produce effective water supply and emphasize the importance of development projects on the Monterey portion of the former Fort Ord, and whereas the FORA Board benefited greatly from Councilwoman Selfridge's penchant for humor and patience while serving on the FORA Press and Part negotiating team, and whereas Councilwoman Selfridge maintained support for broad regional community participation in former Fort Ord programs and issues. Now therefore be it resolved for all the reasons described above, but not limited thereto, the Fort Ord Reuse Authority Board of Directors hereby expresses its sincere commendation to Councilwoman Nancy Selfridge. Be it further resolved on behalf of the entire Fort Ord Reuse Authority family, the Board of Directors extends its deepest gratitude to Nancy Selfridge for laudable leadership and extraordinary service to the Monterey Bay region's base closure recovery programs. Passed and adopted by the Fort Ord Reuse Authority Board of Directors this 9th day of January. I signed as chair. Again, thank Nancy for all of her hard work and dedication. If you'd like to make a-
On behalf of the people of Monterey and the City Council, we are very appreciative of the hard work of Councilwoman Selfridge, and I will deliver this to her. Thank you.
If I may, Mr. Chair, just make a motion to adopt the two resolutions.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Again, thank you very much. One other announcement, and this I get great joy on this. I have in my hot little hands, I'm not Vanna White, by the way. I have a check in the amount of $162,866.78 made out to the Fort Ord Reuse Authority by the City of Delray Oaks. This is the first payment we have for our land sales. If everything goes well, we should have another check in the next year or so for many millions of dollars, maybe up to $30 million. So anyhow, we appreciate your forbearance. The loan that you gave us allowed us to move forward. It's always in politics, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and we're moving forward now. So again, I pass this on to Michael. Don't get sticky fingers, Michael. Anyhow. Okay, so that's acknowledgements, announcements, and correspondence. Okay, next to the consent agenda. Does any member of the board wish to pull either the December 12th or December 18th board meeting minutes for questions or discussion? Any member of the public wishing to pull any of these items? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion for approval.
Move approval.
Okay, we have a motion approval by Mayor Rubio and a second by Councilmember Ian Oglesby. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Next, what I'd like to do for business items, since I've been notified by 2, maybe 3 members, they have to leave early for other commitments. We have the post-reassessment items, item 8D. That's information only. We don't have to vote on that. We'll move them to the end. Josh, you can take a nap until it's time for you to come up and do your tap dance, okay? So we'll start off with 8A, the approved memorandum of agreement among County of Monterey, UCP, East Garrison, LLC, and FORA regarding habitat management on Parker Flats Reserve. I believe Mr. Jonathan Garcia, you'll take this away. Thank you.
Just a moment, let this load up. So today I'm just going to go through this agenda item, and it's going to be relatively brief, and then take board questions. So this is a memorandum of agreement concerning habitat management within the Parker Flats Reserve, which is a county habitat reserve. Next slide. Could you? you go to the next slide? It's not, oh. Okay, so the topics here are the, going over the background, the Memorandum of Agreement summary, and then to the board recommendation. And on the background here, so the California tiger salamander is the principal reason for the Memorandum of Agreement. In 2004, it was listed under the Federal Endangered Species Act. In 2010, it was listed under the California Endangered Species Act. And then, since then, an unconfirmed CTS sighting was occurred in the East Garrison project area. Since that time, the developer has been seeking a state 2081 take permit. And just to connect some dots here, the first photograph here is some burrows, some mammal burrows like rodents or ground squirrels, where the CTS spends most of its life after reproducing in these ponds. They're called vernal pools. So onto the MOA summary. It's required, this MOA is required by the state of California, California Department of Fish and Wildlife, to issue the 2081 permit to the developer, UCP East Garrison LLC. In the MOA, the county would agree to provide the 134-acre mitigation site on its reserve lands. The developer would agree to provide the interim mitigation funding for the first 5 years and could be extended if needed. And then FORA agrees to provide the long-term HCP funding. Next slide. Okay. And so this is the map of the habitat management plan. The green areas are the habitat lands. The white areas on the map are the development parcels. On this map, you can see the East Garrison project area, which is roughly these white parcels over here. The mitigation site is adjacent to the National Monument, right on this area here. And the Jerry Smith corridor runs right here from Inner Garrison Road to the National Monument. This is a close-up of the mitigation site as well. So the East Garrison Development Project is right here next to Reservation Road, Inner Garrison Road. And the mitigation site is this yellow dotted line here. Again, the Jerry Smith corridor, access corridor, the Fort Ord National Monument here. And just some recent feedback, just some clarifications, some questions came up about trails access. So the Habitat Management Plan has designated habitat reserves. However, the property owners manage the public trail access on an owner-by-owner basis. The same is true under the HCP. The HCP actually allows trail access where it's designated in the plan. And an example of designating public access is such as the draft Fort Ord Recreational Habitat Area Master Plan known as the FORA. So that those trails are incorporated into the HCP along with a few others. And we received recent feedback from the California Department of Fish and Wildlife with some minor adjustments that they've requested to the MOA. So today's recommendation is for the board to consider approval entering into the MOA, authorizing the Executive Officer and Authority Council to execute the MOA after the County Board of Supervisors' upcoming action that would include meeting the California Department of Fish and Wildlife requested adjustments.
Stan, if you get the light. So Chair Edel and members of the board, what you have in your packet is a memorandum of agreement that essentially will be entered into by the parties and will stay pretty much like it is, but because we just now are receiving from California Department of Fish and Wildlife some additional comments and asking for some adjustments, both Authority Council and County Council have asked that if you would consider this to give authority that once those adjustments are made and the county takes action, that I be authorized to execute it on behalf of FORA. So the eventual document will be slightly different. We'll provide a copy to all board members when it is executed so that you'll have the actual, but we need some flexibility with this particular document.
Any questions by members of the board? Yes. Councilmember Lucius.
Thank you. Just one quick question. In regard to FORA's commitment, what is meant by long-term?
The Habitat Conservation Plan that we have been pulling together in pieces since '97 and is being published this year, it will be funded from developer fees on the former Fort Ord. The long-term funding commitment is that the properties that are in the Habitat Conservation Plan are paid for in perpetuity from a series, and I say a series, actually 3 different accounts, where we will place funds to provide long-term permanent funding. These are already under consideration. They're within the Habitat Conservation Plan, and the commitment in the MOA is to do what the board is already committed to do.
Other questions by members of the board? Saying none out to the public, any questions by members of the public? Yes, ma'am.
Yvonne Stone, Director, Fort Ord Environmental Justice. Since 1994, this base closed. And like I've said before, I'm concerned also about habitat management. But what I'm looking at is, when are we going to have local community conservation plans? And we have none of that. As a matter of fact, the people who are originally a part of the local community, the Fort Ord community, that are left, are still out there waiting. We're waiting on a project right now where contractors are saying that, oh, we're going to look at how we want our community. It's a little late for that because the plans have already been made, and I don't see any changes.
Thank you, ma'am. Any other public comment? Seeing none, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, sir, please.
Good afternoon, members of the board. My name is Jim Fletcher. I'm with UCP East Garrison, and we're a party to the Memorandum of Agreement for you today. And I just wanted to add a little bit of color to what Jonathan has said already. First of all, I want to thank all of the members of the county staff and the FORA staff members who've been really helpful as we have kind of worked to try to get this document put together, and also members of the California Department of Fish and Wildlife have been very helpful and accommodating in this discourse that we've had. You might be just a little surprised to have something like this in front of you. I mean, if this HCP that Michael has alluded to had been adopted as was originally planned, this would not be necessary. This is really meant to be an interim solution until the HCP gets fully adopted, implemented, funded, and going, which all of us are hoping will be later on this year. I think the time frame's calling for later on this year, at which point this memorandum of agreement would basically go away and would be of no force and effect, and everything would fall under the HCP and be managed by FORA. The land that is being encumbered by the conservation easement alluded to in these agreements is the very same land that's part of the HCP and planned to be the mitigation. The reason that we're pushing for this is just to be extra careful. Right now, even though we are paying a substantial amount of money to FORA in the FORA fees, a portion of which is meant to provide protection under the HCP that's not yet adopted, we're kind of naked, and I'm not comfortable with that circumstance. I don't have any real concerns regarding the California tiger salamander relative to our phase 1, where we're building houses now. That property's completely, that habitat's been completely removed. We're building houses. We've had no issues there. But we're contractually obligated under our agreement with the county to move forward under a certain time frame and timetable, and that means I need to get into phase 2 and begin working on that. And I'm not comfortable getting down there and moving heavy equipment and finishing the lots without the protection that a 2081 take permit, incidental take permit would give us. So what you're doing is you are allowing us to move forward with protection from the state. And in effect, we're double paying for this because we're going to be putting the money up to maintain this mitigation area pursuant to a plan. And the little changes that are coming, as I understand it, are basically clarifications that if the 5-year term is not long enough in this interim agreement, and that would be just catastrophic if that's the case, but if the 5 years aren't enough, the suggested new language coming in is to extend it even further. So anyways, we have our consultants here. My environmental engineer, our attorney who helped draft all this is here. If you have any technical questions, we're happy to answer.
Thank you, sir. And any other members of the public wishing to make comment? Seeing none, back to the board. Michael has something to say.
Yeah, I think Jim pointed out something important for all the board members, in particular new board members. The Habitat Conservation Plan offers for everyone one comprehensive base-wide effort that takes care of these mitigations and assures that we have integrity between the habitat areas, no matter whether they're in Seaside, the county, Delray Oaks, Monterey, or Marina, or in this case, adjacent to CSU. It's an important note to make because this is an extraordinary amount of extra work to cover the potential that there might be a problem in one area of the base. This would be the case in every circumstance if we can't get the HCP done. It's why this board in the 90s said we need a comprehensive base-wide habitat conservation plan.
Back to the board. Comments, questions, or a motion?
Move approval.
Okay, we have a motion by Supervisor Potter and a second by Supervisor Parker. And the motion is to approve entering into the MOA, an authorized executive officer, authority council to execute the MOA after the County Board of Supervisors' upcoming action and meet the CDFW requested adjustments. Okay, any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Motion carries unanimously. It's very good. Okay, for the next, for 8B, I'm pulling this item. Neither Bud Colligan nor Marianne Leffel could be here today, and we need them present in order to go through this item professionally. So this will be re-agendized for next month. So, okay, B's gone. Next, we have the C, the consider executive officer compensation adjustment. Michael? John, did you want to say anything at all? Okay, there's nothing to add other than what's in our packets right now. Open for discussion. Yes. Councilmember Beach.
Hi, I had a lot of thoughts about this, so thanks. I've been really struggling with it because of what I've witnessed at the past meetings, the sort of strife on the board. It's really, this is one of the things that's the worst part of the job. Like, the fun part of the job is developing the former Fort Ord, and the unfun part of this job to me is the sort of, you know, nuts and bolts of how we, you know, organize ourselves, I guess. We're all, I've had the opportunity to work closely with Michael. I think we're all great admirers and friends of his, and it makes it even harder to grapple with these things. But in mind of the sort of terrible press that we've been getting and the sort of strife on the board about this, I'm very grateful that the staff put together the research that we asked for that sort of shows the context of the request. I think knowing that you know, I've gotten only, as I said before, you know, negative phone calls, you know, the highest paid executive in the area and second relative to the number of employees after Pebble Beach. And my feeling is, what I'm worried about is I don't want this raise to have the ironic or unintended consequence of actually diminishing the CEO's role in the organization, his authority, his moral authority. And it got me thinking about other discussions we've had, for example, on the Preston Park rent issue, which was another favorite of mine, that we're a little in the weeds, and that I wish that this discussion was more of a policy level discussion. I wish that Michael didn't have to come to us with a request that, you know, tells us his accomplishments. We appreciate his accomplishments, we know them, and we deal with them on an annual basis through his performance review. So I was thinking maybe a better approach would be to have a policy that incorporates the possibility or maybe the probability of a merit type raise through the annual performance review, so that we don't, this doesn't have to be an episodic wrenching thing every time, you know, it happens to come along, and it comes along sort of randomly. I look back, I did a little spreadsheet because of the data that the staff gave us. We know that over the 13 or 14 years that Michael's been here, he's had 4 raises that are not COLA based. They've been, on average, if you average that over the year, they've been about 1% annual increases. They've been episodic, though, so every 3 years there might be 2% or 5% or 2 every 2 years, or it kind of goes, it's pretty random. So it occurred to me that it might be helpful to justifying for the public and for myself, and to sort of defang the issue, it might be helpful to turn it into a policy issue, to incorporate it, to take the average as a sort of expected amount per year, and have it tied into the annual performance review, and basically make it a math problem or a policy problem rather than a, you know, some kind of referendum that's random on, you know, how well we're getting along, which I think is quite well. So anyway, if anyone's interested in seeing these numbers, I think that you know, I know it's not what one of the alternatives is from the staff, but it occurred to me that it might save time in the long run to sort of put this to bed, not just for this 1 year, but to put it to bed for the future years of his contract that we hope he will stay for, so that every year there's an expected conversation and it takes place as in the course of business. So I would just, I mean, I could put it into a motion just for the purposes of discussion that, you know, we adopt a policy of awarding a merit or longevity, whatever we want to call it, pay increase of up to 1%. That number could be debated at every annual performance review of the chief executive officer.
Yes, Director Hoffa.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Discussion on that, or any other discussion? Yes. Mayor Rubio.
Yeah, I think the motion was a little premature. No one else got a chance to talk about anything yet. But now we got to limit it to the motion. But I think that you know, we spent quite a bit of time on this already, 6 months. And now we're going to send it back and go for a policy and
No, I wouldn't send it back. That's not part of the motion. Just saying.
Please.
Sorry.
well, then I'm not understanding the motion, because that's what it sounded like. I would like to, you know, look at these alternatives that we have here, which have been a lot of work went into it, not just staff, but executive board, to try to come to a place where we can, you know, get this thing done. So I'm not in favor of the motion at this time. I don't really know what the motion is.
Mayor Rubio, do you
But,
want to make a substitute motion?
I'd make a substitute motion that we accept alternative 2 and go on from there.
Okay, we have a substitute motion for accepting alternative 2. Is there a second to that substitute motion?
Alternative 2.
It's on page 33 of on the packet of 61. We have a substitute motion on the floor. Would anybody like to second the substitute motion? Second. Okay, we have a second for the substitute motion. Discussion. Yes, Councilmember Lucius.
Okay. Are we only supposed to speak to the motion?
To the substitute motion.
To the substitute motion.
Right now.
So I wonder if the executive committee could maybe just explain to the board why that was the preferred course. And also, just to clarify, because I think the recommended course is 4% this year, and then the 8,400 next year. But what's actually in the memo under the recommendation, it says another 8,400 per year. And when I first read that, it makes it sound like every year. So I think if we could just clarify that also. And then maybe if the executive committee wouldn't mind just providing a little insight into why that was the preferred course. Thank you.
Who's the executive committee? Where are they at?
Okay, yeah. Basically, the initial alternative that was given to us, we asked Mr. Hulamar to come back with other alternatives, and the alternative number 2 came out to be less expensive than the other 2. I think the intent of the executive committee was to give him the raise, but we're looking at different ways to save money for FORA overall. So if you look on the right-hand column, the FORA annual impact for the 8% across the board was $20,955. Alternative number 1, basically 2 times in a row, would be $21,455, and then alternative number 2, it came to be $19,000. So it was a less expensive way of providing the raise to Mr. Hulamard. Mayor Rubio.
Yeah, and the alternative 2 does mitigate some of the impacts to the PERS. That was the driving factor. And as the executive officer looked over the different possibilities, this turned out to be the best. I'd like to remind the board that the board did vote for the 8% 6 months ago. And this is a different offering that I think kind of meets halfway what everybody wanted to do in retrospect. And maybe the executive officer could go over the explanation you gave us.
The executive committee asked to look at some alternatives to just the 8% merit that had been voted on in August, and looking at the possibility of phasing that or other ways of addressing the questions that have been posed about non-PERSable ways of doing the compensation. So if I used the 8% at the direction I was given. If you phased it, it would be less in the first year, but in the second year it's actually more because you're doing 4% over a larger number. And then the alternative 2, which is only a portion of that 8% would be in a merit that gets a PERS reimbursement and therefore has an impact for the other would be in the benefit increase that would allow for medical and other returns. I have a lesser income now because my medical changed with the new contract and new laws. So this in part takes care of that concern, and so I brought that back to the executive committee. Over the long term, this has both direct annual less impact to FORA and long-term less impact to PERS.
We have a motion second on the floor. Other discussion? Yes, Director Hoffa.
I'd like to preface my comment by first acknowledging the outstanding work of the executive director. I had a chance to meet with him yesterday, and I am very impressed by the work that you've done. And you deserve a good salary that recognizes that work. And I also appreciate the work of the executive committee to try to mitigate some of the PERS impact of the proposal by moving 4% to benefits. However, I can't support this motion, and I would urge you not to. I think most of you were probably elected as folks who said you would be fiscally responsible, and I just don't see in this day and age that giving anyone an 8% raise, that's effectively what it is fiscally responsible. I'd like to put it in a little bit in context. So the total compensation of this proposal, the additional revenue of compensation would be $16,600. I think most of us represent constituents who in hospitality and in agriculture who don't make that in a whole year. So it's just hard for me to understand. I could understand if if we were to look at comparable agencies, that would be, I think, a consideration if the executive director were underpaid. But I think he is making an appropriate salary. So I just would urge you to reconsider.
Other comments, directors? Yes, Supervisor Parker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate getting the chart that we had requested, and I think it is helpful to see the raises that Mr. Hulamard has received over the last 14 years. I think there was some confusion originally when this was being discussed. Staff were using kind of specific language about merit versus step versus COLA, longevity, and I think as a result, some board members had the impression that no raise had been given in a number of years. But when you look at this, in fact, it's been 2.5% to 3% on average every year, except for some years when public agencies were losing money, not doing so well, and it really would have been irresponsible. So I think, you know, it's clear with the information we have before us, we have the highest paid executive director in the area. I don't begrudge him that. I think, you know, he's definitely shown that he works hard and so on, but I don't see any need to add to that pay. I think it's important also looking at benefits. It's a pretty rich package. This executive director gets 49 days off a year, which is nearly 2 months. So I appreciate that the job is complex and it's stressful, and I think the pay and the benefits already reflect that. Thank you.
Any other comments by the directors here? If not, let's go out to the public and have public comment. Any member of the public wishing to comment on this item? Yes, ma'am.
Levon Stone, Director, Fort Worth Environmental Justice Network. Like I said before, what I see as this conversation that we're having today, this is your executive director, you direct him, and you seem to have gotten everything that you want and more. Our roads now look better than our homes. Beautiful. They look better than my shoes. All the green stuff all up and down, and all the little paths for the bikers and hikers. What? You should pay him. What I'm looking at is you're not concerned about what's happening to the local community, and especially the black community in this county. You're turning your heads and looking in another direction. And that is a big concern. I'm just really amazed to hear these kinds of conversations and then see what has been going on in our community. I don't see affordable housing going up. I see housing going up for people who will be coming into our community and who will be making money so that they can afford these housing. Just in Seaside last week, one lady's living room or something was flooded or whatever. Last year, a roof fell on a woman and her handicapped son. We don't have the jobs out there. Not talking about agriculture is getting more money now than most people.
Ms. Stone, we're talking about the compensation.
I know what we're talking about. I know exactly what we're talking about. What I'm saying is you're not concerned about these other things that are really very important. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other public comment on this item? Seeing none, oh, I'm sorry. Please, sir.
Carlos Ramos, C-Jobs. Many times what we do when we have some very, very difficult managerial, fiscal items, and especially when it's just salary, is to many times look at what we have around us as point of references. And with that given, some of the comments from the first motion somehow might ring a bell to some folks and say, well, gee, this is something that we need to contain. I can assure you that if we were to look at the actual scope of what not only this agency is all about, but the work that goes into it, from perspectives not only from Washington, but from Sacramento, I can assure you that the motion by Mayor Rubio, and I believe it was 2B, that is a most appropriate and responsible approach to compensating an executive director that has been very diligent, has been in a performance of above and beyond what this particular role has taken. But the magnitude of this position as an executive director for an extremely important role, not just for today, but for generations to come, one cannot look at it as a job, ordinary job, that we can really look at just from the local perspective. This is a national job. This is a statewide job. And if anything, you're lucky that I'm not a board member or director. I'd probably advocate more. He's worth that, and I can assure you, Michael, you didn't hear this. But if, as an example, he were to have another opportunity, he'd probably get twice as much of what the package is now. So please, there's been a lot of conversation on this, a lot of time put into this. I believe Mayor Rubio, with the suggestion of that particular package, is very appropriate, so please move forward on that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other public comment on this item? Seeing none, public comment period's closed. I'd just like to say personally, I've been involved in politics for 20 years, and I think the position of executive officer for FORA is probably the most complex, multifaceted, difficult, political / non-political I've ever come across. And I've also had, I guess, where a lot of us aren't on the same sheet of music. Being chair of the last 2 years, I've had a chance to work with Mr. Hulamard on a very regular basis, go with him to Washington, D.C. and see what's going on. He really is a dynamo in regard to bringing additional money into this organization. Just last summer, we're bringing another $350,000 in. He knows everybody. They know him. He's a national figure. He's not just a local figure. He's a national figure on the base reuse organizations. The other thing about FORA that's unlike any of the other situations that we have, FORA closes down here in a couple of years. Everybody here, all the staff, they're out of a job. We're going to do what we can to try and find them other work, but that's not assured. So you're looking at a person in a very important position, basically irreplaceable, that's losing his job, and now he's good enough where he'll probably get up another job, but again, it's a very unique situation as far as I'm concerned, and I do understand, I do respect the individuals that are voting on the other side about being frugal. I can understand that, but from my own personal experience, I think the value added he has, he's worth the money. So, yes, Mayor Rubio.
Yes, I'd just like to point out the wage survey. The highest paid is $311,000. It's not our Fort Ord Reuse Authority. It's not number one. And if you look at the top 5, it's he's within 10% of all of those. It is not way above everybody else. His performances, you know, with all the millions of grants he's been able to secure us, I think he very well pays for his own freight. And the national acclaim that he receives for the work he does, and he's a go-to expert on reuse. We have the expert here. He's the man, and we should pay him correctly. This is, and it shouldn't be viewed as a salary increase. It's a merit increase. And what that entails is that for his extraordinary work, he should be rewarded. And I for one, believe that is the case. Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion second on the floor. Any other discussion on this?
Just
Yes.
a quick comment. I just
Dr.
wanted to reiterate that to me, this is not about, to me, now I can't speak for others who have spoken for their rationale. For me, this has to do with the time that's been spent unnecessarily, in my view, because this is not straightened out on a policy level. The position this puts Michael in to make this case and to do it in front of the press and have the negativity associated with that, I think this is not the way it should be handled in the future. I don't know if this 8% increase means that that takes us through the 6 years. But if it doesn't, that means that we are going to be doing this again. And so that is why I made the motion to codify or rationalize this process so that we spend our time at board meetings talking about redeveloping the base and not about things that seem to me should be part of the policies that we use for operations for the organization. I think it puts us all in a very awkward position. I hate to see the board divided, and I think that could have been avoided or could be avoided in the future. So to me, it has nothing to do with actual merit. In my view, I think we can get to the same numbers a different way. That is why I was proposing an alternate motion, which may not have been clear. But anyway, I just wanted you to understand that, Michael, especially.
And just a comment, by doing it this way, we're more transparent. We've got the press here. We have two honorable sides on the issue. I respect your position very much, and I think vice versa. And we've debated it. We're gonna have a vote, and one side will win and the other won't. And it's transparent. If we did it the other way, it wouldn't be quite as transparent. So we're trying to make FORA as transparent as possible. And you can't get any more transparent than this. Okay, any other discussion before we have a roll call vote? Seeing none, if we could have the roll call vote, please. Yeah, for this is on the substitute motion. Let me read it, just so it goes in the record properly. We're looking at the adopting alternative 2. It's on page 33 of 61. You're looking at 1/2 merit and 1/2 benefit increase. And that was the motion, the substitute motion on the floor in the second. Okay, roll call vote, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Beach,
No.
Chair Edelin,
Aye.
Mayor Gunter. Councilmember Lucius. Councilmember Morton.
No.
Mayor Pro Tem O'Connell.
No.
Councilmember Pacheco. Excuse me. Mayor Pro Tem Oglesby. Supervisor Parker. No. Mayor Pendergrass. Aye. Supervisor Potter. Aye. Mayor Rubio. Aye. Vice Mayor Hoffa.
No.
The motion fails.
I'm sorry?
The motion fails on a 6-6 vote.
Are you sure? It was 6-5. You just need I think you just need we come back for a second vote, right? What was the story? Yeah, hold one sec. We're working legal.
We want to be transparent, so why don't we call it again? We don't want you guys working out the numbers.
Well, no, that's not. We guys can't count. The women can. That's why we're getting a little bit concerned. So we're looking at the legalities about the numbers. I think we've agreed it's 6-5. We can call it again if we have to.
It is 6-5.
It's 6-5. Yeah. 6. So John, what's the Okay, our legal counsel, Mr. John Giffen, the vote was ayes were 6, nays were 5. We will come back for a second vote as is our custom. Okay, I'm not sure what the brouhaha was, but that works out. Thank you very much. Again, I think they're honorable people on both sides. I think we all recognize Mr. Hulamard's immense contributions. It's a matter of how much we want to compensate him for those contributions. So. Okay, next, we're moving the post-reassessment items with Mr. Josh Metz. He needs another nap, so that's moving to the end. Next, we have the Environmental Services Cooperative Agreement Quarterly Update. Michael, please take it away. Hold on. No, I'm sorry. Let's move that one. That's also information. Yeah, we'll leave that for the end also. Next, let's go to F, confirm the chair appointment to fill Finance Committee vacancy. Michael, take that one away.
Yes, this is a staff request that the chair appoint someone on an interim basis to serve on the Finance Committee. We have a limited number of finance committee members because folks have moved on to other obligations, such as Graham Bice and others. We have one more finance committee before the next board meeting where the incoming new chair would make permanent appointments to the finance committee. So this was to have sufficient folks to make a quorum for the January 27th finance committee meeting.
Yes, any questions from the board?
My question is, this appointment is generally on the Finance Committee, no offense to Andre Lewis, but no, is that it's my understanding that Dr. Ochoa is the representative on the FORA board. So my question is, why isn't this an appointment of Dr. Ochoa, who also serves on the PrAC committee? And I work very well with Andre. That's why I said this is not. It's a question on the protocol. I'm asking. But he sits as the representative. That was my understanding. And I could be completely wrong. I'm just asking a question.
No, thank you for the question. In our master resolution, the chair can appoint either from sitting members or alternates that are appointed to the board.
To any committee.
So, for example, the Pacific Grove alternate was the chair of the Finance Committee in the 1990s, for example.
Any other questions? Out to the public, any questions by members of the public? Okay, back to the board. Entertain a motion, please. Supervisor Potter is the motion maker, and Mayor Rubio is the second. Any discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye. Anybody opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Now, why couldn't we have done that before? Okay, next we are going to elect the 2015 board officers. I'll start this one off. As chair, I put together a nominating committee. The nominating committee I chose was Mayor Gunter of Salinas was the chair of the nominating committee. Mayor Rubio of Seaside, a member. Myself as a member. Mayor Pro Tem O'Connell, the Marina is a member. And Council Member Victoria Beach from Carmel was a member. And so I'm going to pass this over to our chair, Mayor Gunter, to explain what happened and their recommendations.
Committee met on January the 7th with the absence of Victoria Beach, who I believe was tied up somewhere having a good time, I hope. Okay. And after going through the list of people for the positions, committee met and they proposed Mayor Pro Tem Frank O'Connell as the chair, Seaside Mayor Ralph Rubio as the vice chair, past chair would be Mayor Jerry Edelin, member at large would be Supervisor Jane Parker, and myself as member at large with ex officio member, non-voting as Cal State University Monterey Bay President Edward Ochoa. I would make a motion that we do a summary motion on this and we go forward.
Okay, we have a motion and a second by Mayor Rubio on this. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, out to the public, any discussion on the motion? Okay, public's comment. Oh, I'm sorry. Jane Haynes? Please, Jane.
I just want to thank the nominating committee. The way I read Chapter 8, this responsibility should be passed around to new board members, and this is the first time I've seen it happen. So the two voting at-large members are both people I haven't seen on the executive committee before, and I just want to thank the nominating committee for doing it that way. I think it'll be very good for FORA to have new perspectives. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane. Any other public comment? Okay, public comment period closed. I think the nominating committee got we got the word from last year at this time when there was a major polite discussion about who should or who should not be on the nominating committee and the executive committee. So we hashed that out very much, and I think it personally came up with a pretty good slate. So, any further discussion? Let's have a roll call vote on the motion, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Beach? Aye. Chair Edelin?
Aye.
Mayor Gunter?
Aye.
Councilmember Morton? Aye. Mayor Pro Tem O'Connell? Mayor Pro Tem Oglesby? Supervisor Parker? Mayor Pendergast? Supervisor Potter? Mayor Rubio? Vice Mayor Hoffa?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
What a pleasure to hear that unanimously every now and then. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. We're going to have this going to be a great slate next year. The organization's going to get even better as we go along. Okay, next we have the Environmental Services Cooperative Agreement quarterly update. Stan, take it away.
All right, your board packet has the update board report. I wanted to bring a couple of items to your attention. On page 3 of the report, you'll see the third to last paragraph. On November 25th, 2014, my last report to you was in October, but on November 25th of 2014, the U.S. EPA signed the record of decision for the ESCA Group 3 properties. They're in the count. There are properties in the county, City of Monterey, Delray Oaks, and includes some MPC, future MPC property. That's a critical milestone for these properties in the cleanup. I wanted to also let you know that what's not written here is that the Group 2 record of decision should be completed this month, and that's for the CSUMB off-campus properties, which are located at 8th Avenue and Inner Garrison. I wanted to remind you that at the county's request, FORA staff is working with county staff to adjust the ESCA property signage based on a signage plan being developed under the joint direction of Monterey County staff, Monterey County Sheriff's Department, and the Bureau of Land Management. We'll be having our emergency service providers meeting February of this year. Thank you.
Stan, thank you. Any questions by members of the board? Yes, Supervisor Parker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I saw a letter, I think it was dated November last year from the Army, I think, that suggested that there's a shift in the timeline for transfer of some of the other properties, and they were looking at 2017. Is that your understanding as well?
Supervisor, that's accurate. I think that article, that particular letter was also covered by a newspaper article, and there are, because of the timing that's required under the Comprehensive Environmental Response Coordination and Liability Act, there are sections of time that are required for each thing that gets published. Our colleagues in the Army have looked at that with respect to each of the groups under the ESCA, and so they've pushed out the timing for when properties could be transferred after the RODs are adopted. And so that letter that came forward talked about that. We're working very closely with our colleagues in the Army. We had the fortune of being able to meet Paul Fellinger, and I both met with the United States Army Chief of the Base Realignment and Closure Office in D.C. was in town this week, brought with them folks from Huntsville, Alabama, and Omaha, Nebraska, that deal with all of these kinds of contracts and grants. There was good news that they are funded for the work that they're going to do in the inland range area to be able to allow the monument to be able to be transferred. And there was also good news in their allowing us to move a few dollars around so that we can continue to work with the jurisdiction's long-term obligations, like Monterey, Delray Oaks, and the county's properties in particular. But yes, it is true that some properties in the schedule that had been published about a year ago, because of the long dispute resolution process that we went through with EPA, and you remember we had reports here from Angeles Herrera from Region 9 of EPA, that pushed a number of things out, and so therefore some properties that were originally scheduled for 2016 for transfer will be in 2017.
Yes, thank you.
Other questions by board members? Seeing none, out to the public. Any questions by members of the public? Seeing none, since this is an information item, we will deem it received. Thank you very much, Stan. Good report. Next, the moment we've all been waiting for, Mr. Josh Metz, our Program Reassessment Advisory Committee work dog, so to speak. The entire committee's been working very, very hard, about every 2 weeks, meeting for an hour and a half. I had a full head of hair before I started that committee, and now, Josh, take it away.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all right.
Let's see, work dog here, checking in. I will have a presentation, but the basic news is we've got a couple exciting events coming up that we've been talking about now for some time. beginning with the Fort Ord Trail Symposium that will be happening. I think you're going to need to operate this, Jen. It might not connect that far. Well, there we go. Okay. Work dog checking in here. And back to the point, the Fort Ord Trail Symposium will be on January 22nd. There we go. Okay, got to point it that way. Okay. And that'll be up at CSUMB at the University Center beginning at 9 o'clock. We've got an excellent slate of speakers. This is a little bit of a timeline of how we got there, putting it in the context of the reassessment report. This is for the benefit of any new members. There was a colloquium in 2013 that emphasized the benefits of the active lifestyle as well and its potential implications on economic recovery. Then the Post-Reassessment Advisory Committee focused on this item as a foundation of their economic recovery focus during the past year and planned the symposium to coincide with the upcoming Urban Design Guidelines charrette. This is a look at our banner that we've been getting out there on posters and other means to spread the word, attracting professionals and interested public. We've got an excellent set of speakers, some of the leading thinkers and practitioners on trail development and active transportation from around the country and around the world. This is our agenda here and the timeline. We have worked well with our partners, the BLM, the CSUMB, TAMC, and the County of Monterey, among others. So we hope everyone can make time to show up and send their staff and others who might be interested. Then again, I segue right into the Urban Design Guidelines charrette. There's a big timeline here that talks about the origins and the reuse plan, the completion of the Highway 1 Design Guidelines in 2005, the 2012 reassessment report identifying the needs of to complete the urban design guidelines. Again, mentioned in the colloquium, we included this in our work plan last year, made steady headway contracting Dover Cole and Partners, leading town planning firm, to work with us. They completed a site visit. Many of you participated in that in November. And then beginning February 2nd, we'll be doing the kickoff of the design charrette. And that event will begin here in the afternoon, 1 o'clock. There will be an educational forum with Mr. Jeff Speck, who's the author of Walkable Cities. It's a leading book on the topic of, well, walkable cities. Victor Dover, he's interested in street design and the benefits of street design for long-term value creation in cities. And Peter Katz, who you might recall from the colloquium, the author of New Urbanism. So they're going to be here to kick off the event. There'll be a forum open to the public from 1 to 4, and then the design workshop will happen from 6 to 9 p.m. We just wanted to call out these other two events during the subsequent week and a half. Monday the 9th, there'll be an open house, which will be a sort of a midterm presentation of the design concepts, and then a work-in-progress presentation, which will basically wrap up the charrette period. The consultants will take their work after this presentation and come back to us in the early spring with draft guidelines that would be up for review and consideration by the task force and the board. Indeed, we also heard from some of the members here and worked to bring together these mobile workshops. So we're going to be going to the Seaside Community Center, the Soper Community Center, and the CSUMB Student Center and the Marina Public Library, all to complete these getting the workshops out of the FORA office here and into the communities that would be most affected. These are all open to the public, each one of them, so we're looking forward to as much involvement as we can possibly engender. There will also be technical meetings that take place during this period over here at the FORA office. The workshop will be set up with the consultants in-house, so we're hoping to have visits from all of you and any other key folks who you might want to have come by and learn about what we're doing and contribute ideas. We'll have an open studio from pretty much every day where you can come by and talk to the designers directly and have your input. We have a lot of information online and certainly are available at any time to answer any questions you might have. Finally, the Category 3 items, we just wanted to bring this back to your attention. Both the urban design guidelines and the trails are part of the Category 3 items, yet to be completed items from the reassessment report. We included the completion of these, the extensive set of Category 3 items that were identified in the reassessment report in last year's work plan, and we did make headway on each of them, including meeting and receiving updates with each of the affected jurisdictions. So that's a lot of material, along with all the other work we've been doing. We will be reviewing all of this feedback with the administrative committee and then bringing summary of findings and any required CEQA items to the board, hopefully not too far into this coming year. So I'll take any questions you might have.
Any questions by members of the board? Josh, great work. Any questions?
I have a comment when
Yes,
you're ready.
please, Victoria. Comment.
Well, first of all, the staff has been absolutely amazing on this to pull this to both things together simultaneously. It's been amazing to see. I wanted to take a moment to just let the electeds who are here know that I have a special sub-project, which is, I don't know if I'll be able to achieve it, but I'm trying to get all the electeds from all the land use jurisdictions to have a personal or group time with the consultants while they're here. These are world famous people. This is our local elected land use jurisdiction, that's not me, opportunity to get their vision for their community into the regional urban design guidelines, so that when regional urban design guidelines are implemented, you see your own community's wishes in those guidelines. And so far, just to compliment, I have a response from Mayor Edlin. I have responses from the 2 county supervisors who sit here, but I wanted to make sure that we got appointments. So if you guys can help with your own responses, I think you probably have all heard from me as an email for scheduling purposes. If you can also help spread the word to your own bodies, to your councils or your boards, that this really is the moment. I mean, I don't know when there will be another moment, and that way you will actually have a plan that you believe in your community that is not imposed on you from other places. So please take advantage of it, and I'm going to be the naggy follow-up to see if I can make it happen. Thanks.
You nag everybody else, you use a cattle prod on me. There's something about that.
You've been performing.
I know. Any other questions, comments by board members? Out to the public, any questions, comments there?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yeah.
So this sounds like a really exciting opportunity. If I want to focus my time, it sounds like February 2nd in the afternoon is the best time to be sure to be there. Is there another time where things will be wrapping up that would also be a good time to focus?
Indeed, that's the closing event, which I believe is February 11th. Is that right? Yeah, Wednesday. That'll be sort of what they call the work in progress. It's a little bit misleading in that regard. It's a work in progress of the consultants. They're going to wrap up the design charrette on site, and they'll be then returning to their respective locations and working to prepare the draft documents, which will come back and be presented here later in the year. But that would be the time during this charrette period to be there, sort of to see where.
And is there a time period during that day?
Yes, 6 to 8 p.m.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you.
6 to 8 p.m. on. Sorry, it's not in the slide, right? Yeah, so it'll be 6 o'clock, February 11th. And indeed, you do have a schedule that's a little bit complex. It shows the complexity of the whole week before us. But there are some notes in there that, and again, if there's any, you can reach out directly. I can answer any questions.
Okay, any other questions? Yes.
Just a comment. I think what we need to do is make sure that the TAMC representative, when we talk about regional issues, gets some face time with these professionals, not just thrown in a charrette and she has to elbow her way with 20 other people. I think we should be able to figure out a way to get her some face time.
Yeah, thank you for
Excellent
pointing
point.
that out. We do have a schedule set on the second day of the charrette. They'll be the first group to have a focus meeting with the consultants. So a good point, and we're working with the TAMC staff as much as we can to get them in. They are very important.
Other comments, questions? Seeing none, this is also an information item we'll deem received. Next public comment period. Any member of the public may address the board on any item not on the agenda. You have 3 minutes. Yes, ma'am.
What I wanted to address from the last speaker is the fact that I think this is a waste of time concerning the local community, especially the impoverished people, because nobody is really talking to them. We've gone through workshop after workshop. We had reuse workshops. We all participated. We represent the local impoverished community, the people who have been impacted by this gigantic base closure. We feel that our communities are being encroached upon by people who don't care, who don't really live here, who was not impacted by what happened here at Fort Ord. And so these processes that we go through, then we are told that they're going to be implemented, and then we don't see them. We have not seen what came out of the reuse workshops and that we attended. We have not seen that implemented, and we don't trust that this latest process is going to be implemented to look at what we have concerns about. So I wanted to make that statement, and I want it for the records, and whether you take notice of it and do something about it, that's up to you. But it still stands to be the truth of the matter. And I really do hope that whatever changes that we're talking about, that they are going to take place, because if you keep up this process of ignoring the people who live here, who lost their jobs and lost their way of life, so that some important people can stress how important it is to them because they have the money, they have the resources, and we don't. It's a big mistake. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Any other public comment? Seeing none, public comment period is closed. Next, the executive officer's report.
Yes, Chair, there is one item in the executive officer's report I'd like to highlight, and I'd like to draw your attention to item 10F in your packet. In the travel report, it points out that I'll be traveling all the way to Monterey, California to visit with Councilmember Alan Hoffa. No. We'll be talking on March 15th and 17th this coming year. The Association of Defense Communities, Colonel Fellinger is one of the co-hosts of this event that's going to be happening here in Monterey, where folks from all around the nation will be coming to look at the very transparent and effective cooperative agreements that have been established by the cities of Seaside and Monterey here in our region, and about how those will be applied to others. I received a note this morning, just for all of your edification, that there is a group of folks getting together seriously to look inside of the Department of Defense about closures in 2017. That's something that we always have to be cognizant of, because how much the military contributes in this region. Colonel Fellinger is not just responsible right here locally, but his responsibilities extend pretty far south within Monterey County. And there are a number of installations here that contribute to our efforts economically. And in order for us to be able to establish the ways of connecting the trails from the coast to the National Monument and to complete all the work, we still have to have the economic engines that provide the dollars that help protect the habitat and provide for those items. So I just, there are connected and working relationships that have been established here help to protect our military presence in the area.
Thank you, Michael. Okay, next on the agenda, items from members. Any items from any of our members here?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I have a
Supervisor Parker.
request. We didn't hear the item today about the Monterey Bay Economic Partnership because the principals couldn't be here. But I did submit to Michael Hulamard some suggested deliverables, and I wonder, I'd like it if it's possible to have those as part of the staff report when it comes back to us next month as you know, draft ideas or any others that you want to come up with, or so. I think it'd be good to have it as part of the record for people to be able to discuss.
Absolutely, and I think those were, and thank you very much, Supervisor, for your research and help in this regard, because those items that you listed are very consistent with other questions that we received, and I think they're in line with the kind of responses this board needs to hear from when it makes a $100,000 investment in the partnership. There were 4 other questions that were posed by the board last month about reporting back that we have also provided as a list to the partnership, and we hope that either Bud or Marianne or both or their new hire, which they're hoping to do within the next 10 days, will be here to talk exactly about that at the next meeting.
Great, thank you. I just think it's important, as I've said before, we're contributing an amount of money that's 4 times higher than the highest membership rate, and I think that it's important to be explicit for the people, the partnership, that we are expecting to deliver something to us, to let them know in advance what we're thinking, and also to let our public know what it is that we're expecting, and that we're not just writing out a check and, you know, sitting back and hoping for the best.
Right.
So thank you, and it'd be good whatever those items are that others had suggested, so that we all can know what they are. Thank you.
Jane, excellent idea. Okay, Ian?
Just to finish up with that item, I suggested Michael have his list of deliverables also. So if there's ones that you adopted from Jane or whatever, you need to go ahead and list for us which ones you're recommending, and then other ones are on the outside of that.
Okay. Any other items from members? Okay, the last thing we have on the agenda, as is our custom here at FORA, the outgoing chair hands the gavel to the incoming chair, in other words, known as the fresh meat here for the grinder. So I would like to hand the gavel to Frank. Frank's going to do a great job for the next year, 2 years. I would like to thank all of you. I mean, we all have different ideas. We have some very strong personalities here, to say the least, some very passionate individuals. It's been a real pleasure over the last 2 years to be part of this team and moving FORA forward. And I would like to thank the staff too. The FORA staff does an outstanding job. And in spite of, you know, it's never boring. I've saved all sorts of money on not having to buy coffee because of the adrenaline and everything else. So again, thank you very much. I appreciate your support. Thanks.
And before adjourning the meeting, I just want to express my sincere thank you to past Chair Edelin for 2 years of total dedication and competency in his capacity as the chair. I have learned a lot just by sitting next to him, and we have always been able to work together, and I look forward in the year to come to continue to do the same and to tap into his knowledge in the future as issues come up. And I want to thank all of you for your support. I know you probably had some reservations about how you were going to vote based on certain things that are going on between the City of Marina and FORA, but I will do my very best to live up to your vote, and if at any time you question my decision, please feel free to come to me and express your opinion, because I believe strongly in getting communications directly from people instead of hearing from it by a third person. So that having been said, one thing you may want to know about me is I love short meetings, and the next one is February 13th, and this one is adjourned. Thank you.